Hello and welcome back everyone. In our last video we looked at the margin property and how we can use it to add spacing around our elements. In today's video we are going to be looking at the padding property. Now the padding property works almost the same way the margin property works, but it gives us a different result. So let's get rid of all the places we put margin, but you can leave your border property. So if you look, we have the padding property, then padding left, padding top, padding bottom, and padding right. So start from padding left. Let's set this to 20 pixels for a start and save. Then go back to your web browser and refresh. Okay, so now if we inspect here, you can see that we have some spacing from the border of our element to the content, and that is what the padding does. We select here now and hover. You can see we have a green box, and that green box represents the amount of padding that this element has, while the orange represents the amount of margin. So let's look at padding top. And we can use padding top of 50 pixels and save this. Then go back and refresh, and you can see we get padding of 50 pixels inside this H1 element. And we can do the same for padding right. We can set this to 30 and padding the bottom, can put this at 60. So save this, go back and refresh, and we can get all those padding. And if you inspect, you see that we have that padding at the right also. So that's it for all that. And if you remember from the margin video, we also looked at the shorthand property. So the padding property also has a shorthand, and that's the padding. So the same way it works with margin, that's the same way it works with padding. So you go from the first value. If we have 20 pixels here, this first value will represent top, then the next will represent right, the next represents bottom, and the next represent left. So if we save this and go back and refresh, you will see we can still inspect this, and you can see that we have a padding top of 20 pixels, padding right of 30 pixels, padding bottom 40 pixels, and padding left 50 pixels. So just basically the same way it works with margin, that's the same way it works with padding. So, and if you only put two values, this will become top and bottom 20 pixels, left and right 30 pixels. So if you go back and refresh, so we get top and bottom 20 pixels, left and right 30 pixels. So now that we're done with that, let's look at using width with our padding property. So now let's say this box here, we have a set width for it. So let's go back into our styling. Okay, yeah, so here now we have a set width of 300 pixels for this .text div, which is this containing our text. And let's say we want our text to be a bit from the edge of this box. So we can just add the padding. So we can just add padding of 20 pixels all around it, and save that and go back. So now if we refresh this, you will see that we actually get that padding, but this box is no longer 300 pixels just like we set. If you inspect that now, you'll see that, yeah, so you can see that we have the dimensions of 342. So right here you can see 342 by 1202, so that's 342 pixels by 1202 pixels, and no longer the 300 pixels we set. So how can we fix that? Now in CSS there's a property called the box sizing property. So setting the box sizing property to the value of border box, what this just does is it will keep the width of this div to be 300 pixels as we have set, irrespective of the amount of padding we add. So what that just changes now is it keeps the width at 300 pixels, then shrinks the text or content in as much as possible. So if you see, if we set the padding now to, let's say, something like 60 pixels, you'll see that it's our text that gets smaller and not our box getting bigger. So that's just it. That's what you can do with the box sizing border box. So that should be it for today's video. I hope you've understood how the padding and margin syntax works, how you can use the shorthand values and all of that. I'll see you in the next video where we'll be looking more at the height and width property and other values that we can use with them. So see you in that video.